coming out of college and going into the WNBA, we as WNBA players were having basketball conversations, and everybody just took it to another place where
we were in the middle of a playoff game during practice. There was no pomp or celebration when Caitlin Clark, who had recently graduated from college and entered the scene, was named the Rookie of the Year. No balloons, no press conference to say that it was a cold reception with merely a routine, even contemptuous, notification would be an understatement. It appeared as though the league wanted to downplay her accomplishments to avoid the thrill that should have accompanied such a momentous event.
I watched pretty much every single one of Caitlin's games early on because I am a fan. I do like good basketball, and of course I wanted to see how she would.
As a gamer, I knew Caitlin Clark had something unique from the beginning. Her skill was indisputable, her scoring prowess was unmatched, and her confident, unrepentant, and fierce demeanor on and off the court was unlike anything the WNBA had seen in years. She wasn't just good, she was too good, and she threatened to eclipse everything the WNBA had painstakingly built.
She, we talked about this before, like the fan that went hard at Caitlin at the Connecticut Sun game in game one.
This player wasn't your average one. The way Caitlin Clark was changing the narrative of women's basketball garnered attention from all around the sports world, but what followed was nothing short of a scandal. One of the most well-known voices in the sport inadvertently set off a bombshell in what seemed to be a lighthearted conversation about basketball culture, revealing the WNBA's darkest secret that could shake the league as a whole. It turned out that the WNBA's leadership had hatched a scheme behind closed doors to remove Caitlin Clark.
Where there was an interaction where the fan almost got ejected. It's like, none of this is okay. And we never accept it. We never accept.
Yes, you heard properly. This wasn't a coincidence. Rather, it was a calculated strategy, a premeditated attempt to discredit her and keep her from taking center stage. However, why would the WNBA's brass do this? Clark's explosive rise threatened the league's carefully constructed narrative of collective growth. So instead of celebrating her, they tried to suppress her through racial undertones in the media and blatant targeting of her every move.
Is it okay in our league? Why is it, welcome to me?
Among them is Commissioner Kathy Angelbert. Not only was the lackluster reception of her Rookie of the Year award concerning, but so was the way she was treated on the court. Caitlin Clark was the WNBA's golden ticket to relevance, and they couldn't handle it. She was one of the league's biggest stars because she was doing something the WNBA couldn't control. She was making the league popular and attracting fans from all over the country, which raised TV ratings and ticket sales.
This wasn't a surprise. And not just the comments that
Caitlin Clark, a player who had contributed more to the WNBA than any rookie in recent memory, was being subjected to unfair officiating. Remember when she was given a technical foul for lightly hitting the backboard in frustration after missing a shot? The referee called it disrespectful to the game. In contrast, WNBA legends like Diana Taurasi, who have committed far more serious offenses on the court, rarely receive such treatment. This wasn't just bad officiating, it was a clear attempt to single out Clark and put her in a box. Instead of supporting their rising star, the league did nothing to protect her, allowing the situation to worsen, proving that Clark was being treated differently. Was it fear, jealousy, or something worse? Let's talk about the person at the center of this issue.
a few weeks ago where she basically implied that the racial tension is good for business and invoking magic and birth.
In an interview, WNBA Commissioner Kathy Angelbert casually implied that two players who had garnered national attention, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, might initiate the league's next big rivalry. Although she has long been commended for her support of diversity and inclusion, her words and actions speak louder than words.
Rating high attendance figures. Ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't come courtesy of a league. It comes courtesy of the players that play in the league.
In a shocking turn of events, one of the most well-known WNBA veterans, Sue Bird, made comments on her podcast that seemed to subtly disparage Caitlin Clark's incredible rookie season performance. Clark has built her legendary career on being a team player, and she discussed the importance of teamwork to the WNBA's success. At first glance, these remarks seemed harmless, but a closer examination revealed a troubling undertone.
okay? She was the most popular, which means she could have helped the bottom line, which means you should have seen that from day one and maximum.
Birds seemed to downplay the importance of individual performances. Although Clark's remarks about Birds in particular may have been seen as an attempt to embrace the league's team-oriented culture, many fans and observers saw them as a deliberate attempt to minimize the significance of Caitlin Clark's record-breaking achievements. Ethos' first season was extremely noteworthy since, in addition to garnering media attention on the court, she instilled a level of passion and engagement in the league that had not previously existed.
Good for business is never good for business. And sort of sidestep the question about racism.
Why should such a spectacular performance be overshadowed by a more generic, less exciting one when she set records, lit up the scoreboard, and won over admirers all over the world? It's a tale of collective success. Bird's comments clearly showed why it is preferable to support a player rather than honor one in any league. The story of collective growth emphasizes the importance of cooperation and solidarity, but it becomes problematic when it obscures the contributions of a player who has undoubtedly raised WNBA popularity.
And hate that the players are receiving online, basically saying like, don't go on social media, or, it's sort of...
Caitlin Clark wasn't just a player who happened to play for the team. She was the one who transformed the perception of the league. Without her rapid rise, the WNBA wouldn't have the level of recognition it currently enjoys, and a league that had long been disregarded by its male counterparts gained recognition thanks to her larger-than-life persona, which drew in new followers and generated buzz on social media. Bird's comments reinforced the notion that the WNBA's leadership, including her own, was more focused on controlling the narrative.
They're humans, looking at technology, basketball.
The league seems committed to minimizing Clark's prominence rather than acknowledging her accomplishments when it comes to really honoring its stars.
Flex than tennis, for instance, around technology of officiating. So we're looking at a variety of different dimensions.
Not only was this a Bird-caused issue, but it appeared to be a larger systemic one within the WNBA, as the league appeared more concerned with preserving the status quo and downplaying the importance of Clark's ascent than with utilizing the incredible energy and excitement she brought to the game. This was further demonstrated when looking at how the league handled Clark during her breakthrough season, not making her the face of the league and seemingly unwilling to celebrate her accomplishments.
Technical for basically being mad at myself because I missed the three and then I went and hit the backboard, and he told me it was disrespectful to the game.
Bird's comments served as a reminder that the league prioritized upholding the status quo over celebrating the players who were revolutionizing the sport. Let's pause to reflect on the irony of the WNBA's reaction to Caitlin Clark's rise, as the league prides itself on being a progressive institution.
College and going into the WNBA, we as WNBA players were having basketball conversations, and everybody just took it to another place where we were attacking them as
one that stands for inclusiveness, diversity, and empowerment instead of encouraging an environment that welcomes young talent like Clark. The WNBA has made a name for itself as an inclusive venue for women's sports and a champion for athletes from all backgrounds. However, the way Caitlin Clark has been treated, especially in light of Bird's comments, raises the question of how far that inclusivity actually goes.
I want to reset, that we want to reset. And it's the language being used around fans. Fever fans, Caitlin fans.
Why the WNBA, which desperately needs fresh talent and energy to thrive, would go out of its way to suppress a player who is taking the league to new heights is puzzling. Despite all of her accomplishments, the league seems more concerned about maintaining its current structure and managing the narrative. Even though it was clear that Caitlin Clark's success was exactly what the WNBA needed, the league refused to fully support her rise and instead seemed to be trying to contain her. Clark was more than just a breath of fresh air. She was the windfall that could catapult the WNBA into a new era of relevance and popularity.
New fans. That actually has to go. That has to go. I understand why at times it's been used. It's kind of just when you're in an interview and you get asked a question.
Not only restricted her potential, but also prevented the league from making the most of the buzz she generated, as though her rapid ascent were a threat to the existing quo.
It's kind of easy to go, oh, the FIBA fan base.
Yeah, what do you mean by that? That has to go.
Oh, these new fans. It has to go because it's not the FIBA fans. It's not.
The supporters of the Fever. It's not to make things worse. By portraying their interactions as the next great rivalry in women's sports, the WNBA, under Kathy Angelberg, chose to use the rivalry between the two players as a marketing tool. This only served to heighten tensions already present, further dividing fans and igniting animosity between two of the game's brightest stars. Both online and at games, racist and sexist attacks were directed at Clark and her peer Angel Reed.
No more apathy. Everybody cares. It is a little that Bird Magic moment, if you recall, from 1979 when those two rookies came in from a big college run.
The WNBA disregarded the core rule of sports, which is that it's about the players, in favor of sensationalizing situations for the sake of headlines rather than fostering a friendly and inclusive environment.
One black. And so we have that moment with these two. But the one thing I know about sports, you need rivalry. That's what makes people watch. They want to watch games of consequence between rivals. They don't.
Without them, the league wouldn't exist. No future, no audience, instead of focusing on the players who are the league's lifeblood, like Caitlin Clark and the WNBA's future. The league allowed marketing gimmicks to drive the narrative, alienating its fan base and undermining the league's essential values.
But certainly from a marketing dollars, the corporate partners are stepping up to endorse these players much more so than they were 5.
Since Caitlin Clark continues to break records and captivate audiences with her exciting performances, the WNBA is at a turning point in its history. The NBA's leadership has not fully recognized Clark's impact. Rather than elevating her to the position of league face, they have embraced her rise and capitalized on the passion she brings.
WNBA in the league office and Kathy's role specifically is basically to protect and shepherd.
But the league seems hesitant to acknowledge that the real question is whether the WNBA will choose to look to the future and allow Caitlin Clark to continue to shine, or if envy and fear will impair their judgment and force the league back into the background. Regardless of the league's opinion, if the WNBA continues to suppress its finest players in favor of a narrative about group development, Caitlin Clark will be the face of women's basketball in the future.
From a business perspective, from a player welfare perspective, from a health and safety perspective, and from a growth and investment perspective.
In order to avoid losing the momentum that women like Caitlin Clark bring, the league's leadership must acknowledge that the WNBA's players, who have the talent, charisma, and drive to propel the sport to new heights, will decide its future. If it doesn't acknowledge and support its stars, it will eventually be hurting itself, which will impede its growth and turn off the next generation of sports fans who are looking for the next big thing.
Going to impress and she's going to break records nonstop for the next couple years. It's just going to be a constant.
The real question today is whether the WNBA will allow Caitlin Clark to carry the organization's load or continue to obstruct her rise. Clark has already shown that she is more than capable of doing so. In any event, it is clear that Caitlin Clark is a strong opponent, and the WNBA would be wise to recognize this.